Undoubtedly, technology has a vital role in shaping the way our society functions today. Now, most of our everyday tasks, which would once be considered difficult, is now made convenient with the assistance of our devices. Education, entertainment, healthcare, and even the goods we actively consume have all been impacted by the digital world in some way. This advancement, from analog electronic and mechanical devices to the digital technology available today, is known as the digital revolution. It all begins in 1947, when William Shockley, John Bardeen, and Walter Brattain invented the very first transistor, which consisted of a sliver of germanium with two closely spaced gold point contacts held in place by a plastic wedge. The trio shared the 1956 Nobel Prize in Physics for their invention. Following this was the introduction to pacers in 1950, initially distributed amongst physicians in New York. It was at this period, between the 1950s and the 1960s, that the government, military, and other organizations made use of computer systems, with the first commercially available computer being released in 1951, the Universal Automatic Computer. It consisted of thousands of vacuum tubes for computation, capable of simple arithmetic and data handling. These were essentially the forerunners of today's digital computers. Then came the invention of the integrated circuit. As with many inventions, two people, in this case Jack Kilby and Robert Noyce, had the idea for an integrated circuit at almost the same time. Transistors had become commonplace in everything from radios to phones to computers, but they weren't small enough for some of the newest electronics. While both individuals had hammered out the details of making individual components, Noyce thought of a much better way to connect the parts. Therefore, in 1961, the Patent Office awarded the first patent for an integrated circuit to Robert Noyce. The Internet we know and love was made possible with the development of its precursor, ARPANET. In 1969, the first workable prototype of the Internet was created, funded by the U.S. Department of Defense. It made use of packet switching to allow multiple computers to communicate on a single network. This soon led to the very first email being sent in 1971 by Ray Tomlinson, a man who played a key role in the development of the ARPANET. He invented the concept of emails as a personal side project. This was initially seen as a speedy way for ARPANET programmers and researchers to keep in touch. The 1970s and the 1980s was notably the time period the use of home computers rose rapidly. A number of personal computers hit the market, such as the Altair in 1974, IBM 5100 in 1975, Apple I, the original Apple computer, in 1976, and the Commodore PET in 1977. It was also the time period when companies began to release game consoles, including the very first in 1972, the Magnavox Odyssey. In 1975, Kodak engineer Steve Sasson created the first ever digital camera. It was built using parts of kits and leftovers around the Kodak factory. The camera was about the size of a bread box, and it took 23 seconds to capture a single image. It took 0.01 megapixel images shot only in black and white, which were then saved to cassette tape. Then came the portable mobile phones. Mobile phones were invented as early as the 1940s, when engineers working at AT&T developed cells for mobile phone base stations. However, the very first mobile phones were not really mobile phones at all. They were two-way radios that allowed people like taxi drivers and emergency services to communicate. In 1983, the world got the first ever portable mobile phone in the shape of the Motorola Dynatac 8000X. It cost an eye-watering $4,000 and was a huge status symbol at the time. It required 10 hours of charging while providing 30 minutes of use. From this point onwards, more and more models were released over the years, each with an increasing level of efficiency and a number of features. By the end of the 1970s, a computer scientist named Vinton Cerf had begun to develop a way for all of the computers on all of the world's many networks to communicate with one another. He called his invention Transmission Control Protocol, or TCP. Cerf's protocol transformed the Internet into a worldwide network. Throughout the 1980s, researchers and scientists used it to send files and data from one computer to another. However, in 1991, a computer programmer in Switzerland named Tim Berners-Lee introduced the World Wide Web. An Internet that was not simply a way to send files from one place to another, but was itself a web of information that anyone on the Internet could retrieve. Berners-Lee created the Internet that we know today. Since then, the Internet has changed in many ways. In 1992, Congress decided that the web could be used for commercial purposes. As a result, companies of all kinds hurried to set up websites of their own, and e-commerce entrepreneurs began to use the internet to sell goods directly to customers. By 1995, there were 16 million users on the internet. An innumerable amount of technological advancements were introduced from there onwards, including the development of smartphones, Bluetooth, 3D printers, driverless cars, and VR headsets, the launch of social media sites, the creation of a fully digital currency, and countless others. By June 2020, there are approximately 5 billion users on the internet. So, now that we've reached the present, what's next? Well, advancements in technology will always continue to grow exponentially, with no sign of slowing down. Who knows what the next invention may be? One thing is for sure, the impact of the digital revolution will forever remain prevalent in our daily lives and may further influence it in the years to come.